We have all heard the horror stories, a neighborhood board that acts like a private government, turning a quiet community into a tightly controlled fiefdom. But in Florida, that unchecked authority is largely a myth. To manage these communities, state law requires licensed community association managers to act as strict referees, enforcing rules that deliberately block dictatorial control. Community boards do possess significant governing authority, but Florida law traps that power within a highly mechanical web of strict legal tripwires. Step out of bounds, and the board's actions are instantly voided. To see how this actually works, we need to look at three specific battlegrounds: how leaders are elected, how voting power is delegated, and who punishes homeowners. Every one of these areas is governed by an engineered system of checks and balances designed to keep the power exactly where it belongs, with the residents. This diagram shows how condominium elections bypass traditional meeting quorums. Instead of requiring a majority of owners to show up, an election is legally activated the moment exactly 20% of eligible voters cast a ballot. This diagram illustrates the mandatory two-envelope system securing votes inside two layers. The inner envelope holds the ballot and remains completely blank for absolute anonymity. It's then sealed inside the outer envelope, which must feature the unit number, printed name, and the owner's original signature. Imagine a scenario where a resident hands in their ballot at the annual meeting, but forgets to sign that outer envelope. They are standing right in front of the manager, verbally confirming their identity and their vote. The manager has zero statutory discretion here. Because the written signature is missing, that envelope must be marked as disqualified and thrown out. Verbal confirmation means nothing. By relying on a rigid, mechanical validation process, the state strips away subjective decision-making. The board cannot play favorites because election validity is entirely objective. If an owner cannot attend a meeting, they can use a proxy, a legal document appointing someone else to cast their vote. To prevent old votes from lingering, Florida law places a strict 90-day expiration clock on every proxy signed. A standard general proxy gives the proxy holder the freedom to vote however they choose. This creates a massive risk for power hoarding, allowing a single ambitious person to collect dozens of blank checks and dominate a meeting. To stop this, condominiums operate under the limited proxy mandate. The law explicitly forbids condos from using general proxies for substantive corporate decisions, like waiving reserve funding or amending bylaws. This animated diagram shows how a limited proxy works in practice. It explicitly details the exact question on the ballot and requires a rigid yes or no checkbox. This completely strips personal discretion away from the person holding the proxy. Homeowners associations governed by Chapter 720 operate differently. Unless their specific community bylaws ban them, HOAs retain the freedom to use general proxies to elect board members and pass substantive votes. By enforcing limited proxies in condominiums, the law guarantees that an owner's exact intent is carried out, preventing rogue individuals from hijacking an election by collecting generalized voting power. When an owner violates a community rule, the board of directors has the statutory authority to levy a fine, which is typically capped at $100 per day per violation. But a board voting to levy a fine means little on its own. Until confirmed by an external body, the board's action is legally toothless. The fine must be passed to an independent fining committee. Before a hearing takes place, the association must give the accused owner at least 14 days of written notice, detailing the exact violation and the proposed penalty. This network diagram maps the strict conflict bar. Board members, employees, and their relatives are completely forbidden from serving. So if a board levies a fine, but a committee member is the president's brother-in-law, a red invalid warning flashes. Because the brother-in-law is related to an officer, the entire committee is illegally structured. Any vote they take is instantly voided by the conflict of interest, making the fine entirely unenforceable. When properly structured, this committee has one single job. They do not negotiate the penalty. They possess an absolute binary veto power. They either vote yes to ratify the fine, or they vote no, and the fine is completely dead. The board cannot override a no vote. This strict separation of power guarantees that a board can never act as both the prosecutor and the final judge over their own neighbors. The two-envelope election guardrail, the mandatory use of limited proxies, and the absolute veto of an independent fining committee all operate together as a highly calibrated legal machine. If a community manager or a board of directors fails to execute these precise steps, the consequences are immediate. Elections are disqualified, substantive votes are tossed out, and financial penalties are legally erased. Florida's procedural statutes operate as a defense mechanism. They act as the ultimate legal shield, protecting homeowners and ensuring these neighborhoods function as true democracies.